Hey kids, I'm coming to you this morning from the convention center in downtown Portland, where there is a statue erected to celebrate Martin Luther King and his famous "I Have a Dream" speech, which he delivered in Washington, D.C. a long time ago in 1963. And this weekend is Martin Luther King weekend, where we celebrate his life as well. Now, interestingly enough, Martin Luther King's speech may have been delivered a long time ago in 1963, but the earliest inspiration for that speech goes back 3,000 years before that. Yeah, he was drawing on very ancient wisdom that came from the Hebrew people. And by that I mean the people for whom Judaism was their religion. Remember, Jesus was Jewish. You see, the Hebrew people were the very first people in the world to discover that all people are created by God in God's very image and likeness. Yeah, all people. Now, what does it mean to be created in God's image and likeness? Well, we'll get into that in a moment, but it's important to understand that before that time, people around them also believed that human beings could be created in God's image and likeness, but they said, but only some, like only the king and queen, or only the royal family, or the royalty and the rich, but nobody else. The Hebrews were the first to discover that all of us are created that way, and therefore also all of us should be treated that way. So they set up a society, a way of being together with laws and rules for treating each other as if all of us are created equally. So what does it mean to be created in the image and likeness of God? Well, I'm not so sure it means that like we look like God, but rather that something of God is inside us always. That we are a part of God and God is a part of us. And God doesn't create junk. So if God's in us, none of us are junk. All of us deserve a certain level of respect and dignity. If you don't know those words, ask your parents later. But you know how you can tell if God is inside you? Well, can you feel love? When you feel love for another person or another thing, when you feel love, you feel God inside you. That's where that's coming from. Or when you feel a deep sense of peace, when you're not scared at all, you're feeling God inside you in that way too. Or when you feel joy, just overjoyed with life or your love for people, that joy you feel is also God inside you. And also, when another person feels hurt and you experience their pain as if it's your own, and that motivates you to want to help that person, well, that's called compassion. And that feeling of compassion is also a feeling of God inside you. So if you can feel any of these things, you know that God is inside you. And you think that, if you and I could feel these things, it would be obvious to everybody that we're all created in God's image and likeness, because everybody can feel these things. But that just hasn't been the case throughout human history. Seems like we always wanted to say, well, only us and our friends, or people who are like us, could be created that way. Even in our country, the people who founded our country, they wanted to carry forward that Hebrew vision and create laws and a society based on that understanding that we're all created in God's image and likeness. But even they didn't see the whole picture. Even they had a hard time accepting everybody as being worthy of being treated that way. And so they left some people out. Well, in 1963, in Washington, D.C., Martin Luther King offered a vision for the world, his dream for the world, and it was a dream in which we as a country finally really include everybody in that vision of equality, treating everybody on the understanding that we're all created in God's image and likeness. And that dream continues to challenge us in our world today and inspire us. You know, when you feel that love, that peace, that joy, that compassion within you, and that motivates you to treat other people as if they are created in the image and likeness of God, you are bringing Martin Luther King's dream a step closer to reality, making it reality in our world today. But not just Martin Luther King's dream. We know from the Hebrew people that when you treat other people with that level of respect and dignity, you're helping God's dream for our world come true. How cool is that? Will you pray with me? Holy God, we thank you so much for bringing Martin Luther King into the world and his vision that challenges all of us to make his dream and yours come true. Amen.